Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, many of you might not know exactly what Viva looks like when he does his intro golf voice because I use StreamYard and you only hear my voice. I look like this, weird and crazy. This intro video is fitting for today's subject matter. Enrique Tarrio confronting Fanon in the halls of a hotel somewhere. Behold!
You guys are assholes. So please just back off.
You know who's an asshole? Somebody that sits in sentencing and laughs while I get sentenced to 22 years. That's an asshole. You were brave on Twitter, and your buddy was brave on my sentencing, and he was laughing when I got 22 years. And now you don't even want to look my way, you pretend I'm not here, right? Yeah, keep it walking. Keep walking. Come on, go.
Look at the Karen wagging her finger. Just back off. Mind your business.
This is certainly fun.
22 years. Imagine what it feels like to be sentenced to 22 years.
You were brave on the sentencing, and you sat there, you laughed when I got 22 fucking years. Now you don't even want to look in my eyes.
That's the better
You were a
part.
coward that day. You were a coward after.
Just go home. Just go home. You're a traitor to this country.
Yeah, so are you,
You're a traitor to this country.
You're
Go
a
home.
fucking
You're
traitor.
a fucking
Piece of
traitor to
shit.
this country.
That's why they fired your ass, and that's why your own people turned on you, piece of shit. You and your fucking boy over here. You fucking failure. And the other one's another fucking failure.
Go home.
Little failure. Run from me, motherfucker. Run from me.
He's not staying in the hotel. He's trespassing.
You fucking piece of
He's
shit.
trespassing?
Run from me.
Unless that man works for the hotel, he doesn't get to trespass a third party in someone else's hotel.
Fuck you, you.
Oh, you can say that while you're over there, motherfucker. You didn't do shit.
I mean, it's funny, but it's not funny.
Bitch. Fuck you.
I'm sorry. Hold on. Who just called who a bald-headed bitch? Is that Ivan Raiklan? That is Ivan Raiklan. Oh, it's funny, but it's really not funny when you're talking about someone who is sentenced to 22 years in jail. I mean, that's the better part of any living, conscious human's life. And the older you get, the more of the remaining portion of your life that represents. If you don't know who Enrique Tarrio is, I mean, there's nobody watching right now who doesn't know who Enrique Tarrio is. I refuse to believe there's anybody who's watching who didn't know who Enrique Tarrio was before knowing who I was. I've had Enrique on the channel, I mean, definitively once, maybe twice. And I've met him many times now. And I dare say, at the risk of saying something that might be, that might get me put in the maple gulag in Canada, I like Enrique. And Enrique is, in my view, a good man. And anybody who says otherwise, suck a lemon. I don't care. We're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about everything because the breaking news coming out of the Jan 6 continued, I want to say persecution at this point, the January 6th debacle is the arrest of the alleged suspected pipe bomber, a 30-year-old autistic man who lives with his parents, who apparently planted the pipe bombs, and his name is Brian Cole Jr. And the breaking news of the day, actually, let me just bring this one up real quick, before we get into today's show, is that apparently the person prosecuting the case is one of the prosecutors is named Jocelyn Ballantyne. And if you don't know who she is, my goodness, you're going to know after this, because she was one of the prosecutors who prosecuted Enrique Tarrio so maliciously and so in violation of civil rights that Enrique needed a pardon to be free, to enjoy the rest of his one single God-given life. I've been ranting. So share the link away, by the way, because this was a short notice stream. I'm like, call Enrique last night. I was like, dude, you want to come on and talk about this? Because I think you need to. Because he knows this woman, this prosecutor, probably better than most. So share the link around. We are live across all platforms, it looks like. And we're going to get into it. Enrique, bringing you in. 3, 2, 1. Sir.
What's up, Viva?
Nothing much. It's a beautiful, sunny day in Florida. I mean, it's towards the end of the day, but nothing. Just we're going to get into it. Enrique, look, I think everybody knows who you are, but tell everybody who you are and just in case they don't know.
Well, obviously, my name's Enrique Tarrio. I am the former chairman of the Proud Boys, and I was pardoned by President Trump on a 22-year sentence by certain prosecutor, and a certain president and a certain attorney general. And you said something. You said, "Well, it's funny, but it's not." Well, you know what? Um, 11 months in, I could tell you, Viva, that it is funny because I've had the last laugh. I have the last laugh because I'm sitting here, I'm out here. Justice is coming. It's coming slow. We need to fix some of these problems. Some of those problems we're going to address today. But I am the one, and us Trump supporters are the ones that are laughing last.
Well, hopefully, God willing, and maybe may it stay that way, because when the balance of power shifts, I mean, who the hell knows if they're going to try to undo Trump's pardons because of what he said he wants to do to Biden's auto pen pardons. It's like it's all out war, and I mean, you appreciate that more than most.
Yes, yeah, and I see they could try to do the auto pen thing on Trump, but Trump was very intelligent and he actually signed it himself. He didn't need an auto pen. But what I'm seeing in these past couple of days, actually, what I've seen in the past couple of months from the DOJ is a little troubling. We finally got him. We finally got the J6 pipe bomber. Which I'm dying to get. I don't know. I don't know if this is the man. It could be the man. But that's not my concern right now. My concern is with the DOJ. So I appreciate you for having me on this show.
It's my pleasure. I mean, I'm sort of taking shit. It's not real shit, but people are like, why is a Canadian talking about our politics? Because everybody now thinks that you can identify the location or the origin point of a Twitter account, and they think they've like discovered gold, not knowing that I live in Florida, pay federal taxes out here, pay state taxes. And even if I didn't, I could still say whatever the hell I want, but I've got not just an interest, a right to do this. And
well, I could confirm you're definitely not in Canada because me and you would be in the studio doing this in person, except I'm in Yankeeville, right? I'm actually closer to Canada than you are.
I know. Well, I can confirm we couldn't do this in Canada because the Proud Boys are a designated terrorist group in Canada, even though they've never done anything of any form of violence in Canada. But that's, that I believe that was part and parcel of the Jan 6 plot, which was to get Trudeau to identify the Proud Boys as a terrorist group, so that then Biden could say, look how bad this is, identified as a terrorist group up in the States, in Canada, which would never fly in the States, but they could then justify their persecution against you and the others.
Yeah. Yeah. And like our guys that lived in Canada at that time, they were the most apolitical group of Proud Boys that you could find. They didn't go to rallies, they didn't go anywhere, they just hung out and drank beer. And the reason why the Canadian government decided to call them a domestic terrorist organization was because what happened here in the States.
So, I mean, I don't want to go into everything that we talked about the last time at length, because, but I need you to just remind people. You were in jail. You got arrested for the burning of the BLM flag in DC. Yes. They put you through trial on seditious conspiracy, right? And then I get mixed up between the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. They put you through trial. They convict you, and you get sentenced to 22 years in jail. And at the time you're sentenced, you have no idea that Trump is going to win, and there was no guarantee. No. Your life is you're effectively a dead man walking in prison. What does that possibly feel like to hear that in court?
If I were to tell you it felt a certain way, well, one way I'd be lying to you, because it's kind of like a roller coaster of emotions. Some days you feel great, some days you feel hopeful. I mean, obviously that day I didn't feel very good when the judge passed down the sentence of 22. Although there was a little bit of satisfaction that I got from it, because I thought he was going to give me more. The government was originally asking for 50, then 33, and I got 22, so I was kind of happy. But all in all, we had we were breaking records. We're the longest trial in DC history, the highest sentence for seditious conspiracy ever, period, not just for January 6th. And the biggest case in the Department of Justice's history. Because of the allegations, we had access to evidence that most cases didn't have. Like most cases, like you went into the Capitol, yada, 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 you went by yourself or you went with a group of friends, you only get discovery for that group of friends around your circle. But since we were charged with planning and orchestrating the whole thing, we had access to the entire trove of discovery for all the cases, anybody connected to the events at the Capitol that day.
What did you see in all of what you saw? Or what was the most notable stuff? And what was the
Um,
most egregious violation of constitutional rights in the process?
Most of the most egregious violation of constitutional rights comes from the prosecution. I know for a fact that they did not believe that this story was true. They did with what most lawyers do. No offense to you guys.
Oh no, Enrique. There's the old expression that 5% of the what is it? 95% of the lawyers give the other 5% a bad reputation.
Yeah,
Everybody is right to hate 95+% of all lawyers
of
on
law
earth.
lawyers. They sat there and they had to lie through their teeth, and then they had to coerce and coach witnesses in order for them to lie too. Something that a lot of people don't know is, there was a lot of FBI assets on the ground that day, whether they were paid informants or actual assets of the FBI. In our prosecution, there was actually over 50 that we can count right now. You know how many of those they brought to court to testify against us? People that were embedded with the Proud Boys for a very long time? Zero. The number is zero. Okay. I don't know if you do criminal law.
No,
But
never did. Never did.
if you're in a conspiracy, you know how odd that is that you have so many people embedded within the group, and zero of them were put up on the witness stand by the prosecution. And the reason was simple, because all of them said the same thing, that we didn't plan to storm the Capitol that day. You know who did bring FBI informants up to the stand? We did. After having to pull teeth nonstop with the Department of Justice, with Biden's Department of Justice, which doesn't seem much different today, to be honest with you. We we didn't get information. They had FBI assets within our defense camp, something that shouldn't be
Yep.
done. We had tapping of attorney-client privilege phone calls. It was a nonstop. I've never seen this. Like you grow up not as a lawyer, right? As like a regular, like citizen that doesn't go to law school, and like you watch like the court shows and stuff like that, and you think that the court system works one way, and when you go in there, you're like, okay, well, wait, I'm innocent, and this is my defense, and suddenly the judge goes, no, that's not your defense. You can't use that.
No, and you like people don't appreciate that they were not infiltrating. They were infiltrating your defense and intercepting solicitor-client discussions, advice. I mean, it's stuff that you expect to happen in like Soviet Russia, in East Berlin, and maybe under Biden's DOJ. And I don't think people really fully appreciate it. Everyone's like, "Oh, you guys are a terrorist group in Canada. They don't like your modus operandi. You've sent some things on Twitter, whatever. So you got what you deserve." They don't understand how badly the constitutional rights of pretty much every Jan 6er were violated. Whether or not they were guilty of something, it was a railroad shit show.
Yeah. And look, FISA courts are only supposed to be used on foreigners, right? They use the FISA courts against us a million times during our court. There were classified files. There's a lot of classified files in our case. It's not just a basic protective order that was issued by the judge. It's actual classified files, and we'll get into that, I guess, a little later when we start talking the meat and potatoes of it. But it was a very extensive, grueling trial that I thought at some points I thought we were going to win. At some points I was convinced I was going to spend the rest of my life in prison. And
you're 40. You're 43, right?
I am 41.
41. So 22 years at 30 and 37 is effectively the rest of your useful life.
No, not only useful life, like some people
you
don't
die in
live
prison.
Yeah, some people don't live too long, So
but before we get into the meat and potatoes of the one name that is of particular importance for today's show, I appreciate the broad beef with Fanoni, but explain to people who might have forgotten who Michael Fanone was and what your specific beef with him was.
So he wasn't part of our case, although the government did try to bring him in to kind of like, he's very good at on the stand. You put very good liars, and you don't put somebody that you don't know what they're going to say on there. But we were able to fight that off. Fanone is an officer that, unfortunately, I don't support it, that he got tased in the neck, right? He got tased in the neck. He got dragged out or whatever. You know, at that point, you know, like I don't think what happened to him was right. You know, I'm just being honest here. That's not my beef with him. My beef with him was what he became after the fact. He became a mouthpiece for the left and a mouthpiece for CNN because that's who hired him. But my personal animus with him came when he sat in court. You know, my mom's there. And she's having a hard time. I have a really close relationship with my mom. You've met her before.
Yeah, I met her at the event in Florida.
Yeah, I'm a mama's boy. I know somebody's going to clip that out, but I'm very close to my entire family. But me and my mom are really close. And you know, while my mom sat there and wept, you know, because her son was getting fucking railed by the United States government, he laughed in her face. So I was at a hotel, and Officer Fanon was there. And I'm not going to say that I didn't know he was there, but I went to confront him. You know, I wasn't going to put my fucking hands on him. I had already done 3 years in prison. I'm not going to touch somebody, but I wanted to see what he had to say. And he couldn't press the close button on that elevator door fast enough in that video. He's sitting there. There's a video where he's sitting there and you could see him mashing the close button. So he could, so the berating can stop. He wanted it to go away.
I want to
go ahead.
Oh, no, I want to believe that there's a part of him where he's ashamed to look at you. And he wasn't responsible for your sentence, but relishing in an injustice that is stealing a man's life. And then you're forced to confront that later on when more of the truth has been told, but you're forced to confront your own moment or period of absolute evil. He had to have been ashamed, and you're the mirror of his shame.
Well, his shame is pretty evident, right? He lives on a mountain, an isolated mountain in West Virginia. He said before that if the FBI comes for him, that he's going to go out guns blazing. He can't walk down the street. He can't, and you know what? That brings me great joy. Usually it doesn't, but it brings me great joy. He should live with that shame for the rest of his life, you know, because he's a traitor. I told him that day he's a traitor, not for what he did that day, right? Like he got tased in the neck. I'm not going to take that away from him, you know. But for what he did after is what makes him a traitor. He got a whole bunch of innocent people and he tried to lock them up. I encourage your viewers, because if not, I'll be here for hours talking about Fanon. I encourage your viewers to go ahead and Google what Fanon said in some of these trials and some of these sentencing. Some people were sentenced to 15, 14 years. And he was like, oh, they should have gave him more. They should have gave him life. You know, people that walked in and out of the Capitol, didn't put their hands on cops, didn't break anything, didn't even plan on going in there. So he should live with that shame. And I'm happy he does have to live with that shame. And he has to appear remotely now when he goes on his news shows and stuff like that. Because of things that happen like that in the elevator, it kind of reminds you of the movie The Shining, when Jack Nicklaus is putting the axe through the door and he's sitting there in the corner. He should live with that shame. I'm happy.
No, it reminded me of the scene from The Princess Bride where the witch is boo, boo. You had love and you gave. I don't want to start any conspiracy theories. Do we know who tased him? Was it a legit protester, or is there?
Yeah, it's actually somebody that I know. I met him in prison. His name's Daniel Rodriguez, and look, Daniel doesn't shy away. He's like, look, whatever. I shouldn't have done that or whatever. But also, Daniel is also in his feelings about it, right? Because of what happened after. And he has a right to feel that way. He has a right to. We could be objective. We could put things in compartments and be like, well, you know what? You shouldn't have tased him in the neck. But he shouldn't have gone as hard as he did on everybody else. So I like to put my feelings in compartments. I'm not binary by any means. I could put my feelings aside and judge things by the evidence and the evidence alone, unlike the jury of my peers that judged my case and said that they could not put those strong feelings aside.
22 years for seditious conspiracy when you didn't step foot on the Capitol that day, when you were quite clearly infiltrated by feds and other agents. I guess that is the good segue now into this prosecution and the role that this. Oh, sure, go ahead. What do you want to say?
Some of those feds actually enjoyed being Proud Boys. I have all their messages. they're like messaging their handlers. They're like, hey, actually, this is a great group of guys, man. I'm gonna go out with them on Thursday. Like that was like the whole thing. We were laughing. We're like, these guys like got paid to infiltrate the Proud Boys, and they actually like us, and they actually defended us when it was like, oh well, did they plan anything? The FBI assets were like, no, they didn't plan anything. They're a bunch of drunks, you know.
It is amazing what people's impression of the Proud Boys is based on what they've read in the media versus what it actually is and who they actually are. And I was sort of I was a victim of that as well. Enrique,
Yeah.
you were public enemy number one, and I thought you were devil incarnate. Not quite so much, but meeting you and getting to know you, it's eye opening. And then you understand. Then when the media tries to vilify somebody, you have to take 5 steps back and either withhold opinion until you have good reason to believe something, or meet them yourself.
Yeah.
So how long was your trial again? It was 9 months?
6 months. 6 months.
6 months.
Actually, it's technically, if we're talking the post-trial process, it's still going.
In what?
We're actually putting some motions in. I'm the only one commuted out of us 5. I mean, I'm the only one pardoned out of us 5. 4 of the guys aren't pardoned; they're commuted, so their cases are ongoing. And then on top of that, even if I'm pardoned, I could ask for a dismissal, because a pardon absolves you of everything, but doesn't technically erase the record.
Mhm.
Like, it's still, you're there. They can't use it against you. And based on a couple things that I'm going to tell you now is one of the reasons why we're putting in a motion to dismiss, including myself.
And the commutation, they remain felons, and with all of what that entails legally and financially and economically.
Yeah.
All right. So I mean, let's hear in your prosecution, the woman whose name now Ballantyne is her last name. What was her first name again?
Her full name is Jocelyn Ballantyne, and she was the head of the Capital Siege Division right under Matthew Graves, which was a attorney for the District of Columbia. And I was like, man, she's going to be one of the first people they fire.
Can you explain what that means? Oh, she's head of the Capital Siege Division. What does that mean?
So the DOJ, once January 6th happened, put together this task force. Well, not task force. They put together this team of attorneys within the DOJ, and it was called the Capital Siege Division. The FBI also had a Capital Siege Division. They all worked together. Actually, as a matter of fact, I think the Capital Siege Division was comprised of DOJ and a whole bunch of different agencies working together to violate the rights of Americans. But she was at the tippy top of this whole thing. She also was the person that ran all the informants in all the cases, all the FBI assets, all the DOJ assets, all the DHS assets, all of that, all the undercover Metropolitan Police Department undercover agents, the Park Police. Anybody who was undercover, she's the one that ran all of their parts of this Capital Siege Division. It couldn't if you had a CHS in your trial, it had to go through Jocelyn Ballantyne. And what I'm going to tell you at the end of this is going to blow you away, because I don't think I've said this publicly, but we'll keep going.
I don't know, man. I might not be able to think straight until you tell me what it is. Now, don't forget to tell me, Enrique.
I won't. No, I got the list right here.
She's. I'm just trying to find a picture, and there seems to be another Dr. Jocelyn Ballantyne that I don't want to mistaken with.
You won't find it. We've been looking for it. I've been looking for it for an article I'm writing, and I can't find. There's no public pictures of her.
Okay, if I may just ask, like broadly speaking, old, young, white, black, like who is she?
White. I'd say mid-50s. We used to call her ramen noodles because her hair looked like a bunch of ramen noodles. It was like this curl that always looked like it was wet. Always had on horrible shoes. I think there's a couple people in the audience that are going to appreciate that. There's a couple people that's the first thing they told me. They're like, "Have you seen her shoes?" So apparently she has a bad shoe collection. But that's just me poking. There's so much wrong with this woman.
Well, so, and what role did she play in your prosecution, and in who else's prosecution did she also play a role?
She played a role in every single prosecution when it came to January 6th, and specifically in our prosecution, she had to come in multiple times and pro hoc vici into the case when it came to these CHSs, when it came to the disclosures of like some of these link messages, it's kind of like a signal Telegram that the FBI uses to communicate with each other, which is an encrypted chat platform that has auto delete function, which is weird. But anything that had to do above your typical prosecution, she would come in. She was a puppet master of our. She was a head prosecutor in our case.
And pro hac vice means that she's being recognized as counsel where she's not otherwise certified in that state or district. And as far as you understood, was she representing the CHS, the confidential human sources, or was she sort of the puppet master of the entire prosecution?
She was a puppet master of the entire prosecution, so she would come in and out. I forgot why that was, where she had to come in and out, because it was a whole team, dude. I mean, the table for the prosecution was huge. So much so that they had to take the entire prosecutor's table, which consisted of, I think, like 10 chairs, and then the first pew on the prosecutor side, on the government side.
I was just listening in terms of the Brian Cole. They were saying this something similar, that there's 6 prosecutors and Brian Cole is sitting there alone with his own attorney, who
I could probably name all of them.
And I'm just trying to see who appointed her. It is interesting that it's very difficult.
I actually pulled up. I don't have it available. She goes back to the DOJ as far back as 2010. There's no records before that. I don't think she's old enough to assume that George Bush appointed her, so it's very likely that she was appointed by Obama. She definitely predates the President Trump.
And she was, I'm going to now, as you talk, try to figure out, I didn't realize that she was involved in the Michael Flynn prosecution, which is now going to make some even more sense. Because, in as much as I didn't live through this the way you lived through it, I didn't live through it the way others who were following it at the time lived through it. Julie Kelly puts up the post and says, what the hell is this woman still employed for, let alone the prosecutor here? Now I'm going to go just refresh my non-existent memory of what her role was in the Michael Flynn judicial debacle, which I covered thoroughly, but I'm not good with names to begin with, except for that judge whose name was Judge Emmett.
On what case?
In the Michael Flynn case back in the day, the judge that refused to accept the prosecution's withdrawal of the charges. So she's not an incidental character here. She's a main player, a main decision maker.
She's always had a high-ranking job at the DOJ. She still does.
Okay, this is what we're going to get into now. You have to explain what she did in your I'm calling it a persecution, whether people like it or not. What she did that violated ethics, that violated the Constitution, that violated your rights for full disclosure. Because when you describe it, I don't think people understand or even know. It's going to blow their freaking minds what she did. I like that button.
I love it. I love it. This is like my mobile mic, and I kind of want to switch everything out because I just touch it and it's
it's amazing.
So let's start. There's really 5. Let's go through 4 of them. I want to talk about like my personal issues with her when it came to my case that aren't really personal. I'm going to talk about her failures in our case, right? And the first thing is the late disclosures of the CHSs, the confidential human sources, whether, again, they're assets, paid informants or unpaid informants. We had to pull teeth, not only pre-trial and during the trial, to get the names of some of these CHSs. That fight is still going on today. As a matter of fact, the last time we got a disclosure, we got sentenced back in 2023. We got sentenced in September of 23. The last disclosure that we got for a new CHS was November of 2024, after the election, right? So even after we were sentenced, we're getting new exculpatory evidence in our case, right? As of our trial, we had found out through four, the judge forcing her 4 times to disclose it. 19 Department of Homeland Security CHSs, 8 from the FBI, and 13 undercover Metropolitan Police officers, right? after the fact, that number nearly doubles, and we nearly have 60 CHSs within one case in one January 6th case. Okay, that is still going on today. That is a failure. That is a Brady violation, right? That merits a mistrial every time it happens.
Yeah, and you're using the word failure. I would have used violation, so that it's
Yes.
not a question of incompetence. It's a question of malice in terms of what
Yes.
is not being
Yeah, it's
turned
not like,
over.
oh wait, hold on, we just found another one. No, it was, and these things, some of these FBI disclosures, right, aren't just they don't have a protection order from the judge. You know, I don't know if you want to tell people what a protective order is, but the judge basically says this cannot be disclosed publicly.
There's no seal or gag on the identities. You're asking for basically to know who the CHSs were, the confidential human sources that were involved in infiltrating, spying on the Proud Boys. There were 60 in one case.
Yeah. Some of those are considered classified. That's a whole other level of when somebody is considered classified, or the information that they is considered classified, I can't even know. My attorneys have to go walk in, and they walked into the FBI field office down there in South Florida, right at the county line. And they walked in, they had to put their phones down. They had to get a pen and paper. They were given a pen and paper by the FBI, and they were given terabytes of information to go through on one computer under video surveillance. And they had to write down all the information they had, and they couldn't write down identifying information. Those notes, now, when they leave, they have to give in those notes, and somebody has to go ahead and go through those notes and say what they can leave with and what they can't. That is a level of classification that goes beyond what a protective order is. Some of those people, I don't know who they are. Okay, some of them I was able to identify them because they're like, oh, well, one of these people was next to him on December 12th, and I was able to identify them like that. But my attorneys, by law, couldn't tell me who they are or couldn't give me identifying information. Mistake number one. The spill, and I'm using the word spill because this is the word that Jocelyn Ballantyne used while sitting in front of the judge. The spill of classified messages. So in our case, and I go back to what I originally said, these link messages, which is a messaging system between the FBI, they're supposed to give us all of that are relevant in our case. So what ends up happening is that this FBI agent, Nicole Miller, went through the Excel spreadsheet and deleted the messages that she said was not relevant to our case. That might have had something to do with another case. Maybe not.
If I may I pause you there? Was there any judicial oversight that you knew of as relates to what they were unilaterally deciding may or may not have been relevant to your case?
No, it was a trust. It was like, we got to trust the DOJ. We're like, well, we don't trust the DOJ. We said that a million times. And this is why we said it. So that Excel sheet gets turned over to Jocelyn Ballantyne. Jocelyn Ballantyne apparently does not check this thing and gives this to the defense. So we're sitting there with our computers going through evidence while this case is going on. And one of the guys is like, hey, what's this thing that says hidden? And he clicks the thing and it unhides a whole bunch of messages. She forgets to delete the messages. She hides them. And within those messages that are hidden, because there is messages that were deleted, within those messages that were hidden, she sends a message to destroy 338 pieces of evidence. That's what she said in the message. I have authorization to destroy the 338 pieces of evidence. She admitted to tapping into attorney-client privilege phone calls of multiple members of my team, right? Well, not my team, my guys.
Yeah.
So she's listening into trial strategy, things like that, and she's disclosing the information. She's disseminating the information that was in those messages.
If I may pause you on that,
Go ahead.
were these discussions that were being held in prison where they're making the calls from the landlines and they did it from the wrong landline that said this is an unsecure line, we might be listening in on this? Or was it the
This included both on those lines that are supposed to be secured.
Yeah, okay. Because for everybody who doesn't know, and I know this, I've been speaking to a few people in prison. They say this line is monitored, so if you want to talk with your attorney, use another number. So she was doing this surveilling. Set aside the legality on the one hand, on both ends, where the one where it was supposed to be secure between solicitor and client.
Yes.
Unfucking believable, Enrique.
And that includes a messaging system that says that it's safe to use between attorney and the client.
Right? Yeah, how that's not an immediate, not mistrial. How that's not an immediate.
I want you to keep using that word mistrial, because I think that's where I'm going with all of this. Right, these disclosures, these late disclosures of this DHS and CHSs is grounds for mistrial. This
the mistrial, I think you could be tried again depending on the circumstances. This is violations. It should be throwing out of the suit. It should be basically a judicial pardon to some extent. You violated rights so badly, you're not getting a second kick at the can this time. But set that aside. So Jocelyn Ballantyne, she gets the document that her team is unilaterally deciding what's relevant, what's not, putting things on hide. She gets the file, doesn't delete them, sends it over to you, not realizing you can just unhide it. This sounds exactly like what they did in Colorado with the passwords. Yeah. And you see what was clearly, on the one hand, relevant stuff that they were unilaterally hiding, and violation of solicitor-client privilege in terms of surveillance on the defendants and their legal strategy.
Yes.
And she's not only not in jail, she's not only not fired, she's still is the prosecutor on this case. I had to refresh. Let me bring this one up just for 1 second here.
Go ahead.
Jocelyn Ballantyne, her involvement in Michael Flynn's case. I just wasn't paying attention to names. Signing multiple court documents such as memos and responses to Flynn's motion to withdraw his guilty plea, where she argued against ineffective counsel. Submitting evidence, including FBI notes from agents Peter Stroke and Andrew McCabe, which contained inadvertent alterations like added sticky notes with estimated dates, providing redacted FBI reports and other materials. Declining to sign the DOJ's May 20 motion to dismiss. This is a woman, is a partisan, corrupt, and some might even say criminal, who is still employed at the DOJ and prosecuting the Jan 6 pipe case. Let that simmer while Enrique continues to discuss what Jocelyn Ballantyne did in his case.
I mean, I briefed all of this. I could be here all night. There's a lot more than just this paper right here, dude. But so here's another thing, and I think this was one of the most egregious things that I saw in this case. So for those that don't know, when you're pretrial, you got to give a witness list, right? And the defense always has some flexibility with the witness list, but we turned in the witness list. So let's talk about two witnesses. The first one was my main witness, which was a 22-year lieutenant and commander of intelligence in the Metropolitan Police Department that I was communicating with about the whereabouts, like where the Proud Boys were going to march, and kind of to keep us safe or whatever. As soon as I put him on, like who would be the best one to give me, like who would be my lead witness that would say, well, he's not trying to overthrow the government because he's communicating with the government to keep people safe. And that all came out. They knocked on his door 2 days later after I pulled out that witness list, and they're like, hey, you might not want to testify in his trial because you're going to probably have to testify in your trial. Well, after our trial, he's obviously pled the fifth and said he wasn't going to help me out anymore. They came and they got him, and they sentenced him to 18 months. We're currently trying to see if we get him a pardon. His name is Lieutenant Shane Lamond. I encourage you guys to search for him after this pod. But this is the more egregious one. So we gave that list in late November. We started the government's case closed in like March or April of the following year. So I said, okay, let me bring in another witness that was on the witness list, and let's pretend, we closed out the day for trial, and my next witness was going to come in tomorrow morning, and she was going to take the stand and testify. Well, at the end of the day, Jocelyn Ballantyne and Jason McCullough, the prosecutors in the case, pulled my attorneys aside and being like, "Hey, about that witness that you're going to bring in tomorrow, yeah, that person's an FBI informant." And my attorney's like, "What? Wait, why did you wait until last minute to tell us?" Well, here's another thing. You can't ask her about her time as an informant for the FBI while she's on the stand. And
This
we're like,
is
my attorney pulls us to the side, like before we get on the bus to go back to the prison. And he's like, "Hey, we got a mistrial here. We're going to put the motion in tonight. This is definitely a mistrial. They've had an FBI informant in our defense camp."
you need to explain this because it's so flabbergasting. This was a witness that you and your counsel were meeting with to prep for trial.
Yes.
I mean, this is even
It
worse
wasn't-
than what I thought I understood the last time, Enrique.
No, it's worse. It's worse than that. They were in like prayer groups within like my family's prayer groups.
So let me try to steel man this so that it's not Biden's Soviet United States of America. This was one of your witnesses. You guys are meeting, discussing strategy, discussing testimony. Here's what we're going to ask you. You know, this is what we want to do. Was he relaying this information to the prosecution?
We couldn't find out because we couldn't ask her. We couldn't even ask.
It is truly beyond the pale unbelievable.
Yeah.
The night before, you're calling. He was like, "Oh my! How far into the trial are you now?"
The prosecutor, the government took about 3 months, or no, actually like 4 months to present their trial. So it was at the very beginning of the defense's presentation.
Yeah, after the.
Yeah.
I hope everyone I hope put it in the chat and let me know you appreciate how bad this is. They've been strategizing their defense in light of the prosecution evidence, prepping their own witnesses. Told by Ballantyne tells your lawyers herself the night before they're scheduled to testify, "Oh yeah, they're agents or assets or CHSs, whatever, and informants, and we can't tell you and are not going to tell you whether or not they've been communicating the contents of their interactions with us or the FBI."
And you can't question her about it when she's on the stand.
What does the judge say to that? Like, first of all, if I'm the lawyer, and this is why I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to sleep for the next week. I would be livid. I might, you might.
We were happy. We're like, "Oh my God, there's no way." The judge is like, "Oh yeah, there's no evidence that she disclosed any defense strategy or anything." And I was like, "So who are we trusting? You're not even bringing her up to the stand to question that."
It's presumptive because there was concealment. It's presumptive that this person who infiltrated you did not disclose that so that you could at least govern yourselves accordingly. Do we trust this person not to relay? And so the judge says, "Oh, cool beans. Good to go. Carry on."
Yep. Carry on. And we're like, "Wait, what? Hold on." And so much crap has happened at this point in the trial. We're like 4 months in that we were like, that's it. Like you're numb to it. You're like, "All right, well, whatever. Let's go to the next one. We'll fight the next battle."
There's no point having the trial at that point. Just say, that's it. Throw myself at the mercy of the court. Sentence me to whatever. At least we'll save some.
That's exactly how we felt, And then let's go with the fourth.
But I should just before that, because I need to know the logistics. So they tell you this the night before. You still bring up that witness the next day.
No, we
what
don't. We don't.
So
because you never put a witness on the stand that you don't know what they're going to say. We go up there and maybe she goes, "Yeah, for sure. They planned the whole thing."
I'm sorry. That is the obvious answer. Oh my goodness. Okay.
So, I held it under wraps for a little bit, but the government star witness in the case, his name's Jeremy Bertino. Jeremy Bertino was a close friend of mine. And when I got arrested on March 8th of 22, they went and raided his house. Jeremy Bertino is a former felon, and he had firearms in the house. So when they went to go arrest him, they told him, "Well, you're going to do a long time. You're a felon in possession of a firearm. Plus, we're going to get you with seditious conspiracy or whatever." He had 4. No, well, wait. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you this based on the knowledge I knew before, like 3 months ago. and then I'm going to say it now with the knowledge I have now. He met with the FBI 4 times. Jocelyn Valentine was there, I think, 3 of those 4 times. His first interview with the FBI was the most honest. No way, there's no way. These people didn't have any plans or whatever. The second one, he was like, oh, these guys are aggressive, but, they would never plan to do that. The third one,
Now that I think about it,
now they're like, now that I think about it, you guys are raising good points. Maybe these guys were hiding it before, and I just didn't know. The fourth one, he's like, yeah, dude, they told me to do it. They told me to do it. And we have all the 302s, right? Or I think it's 302s or 402s. I think
well, if it's 302s, I thought was FBI, but
Yeah,
well, that is the
302s.
FBI. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
I understand that.
So you could read all these 302s. They're public knowledge. Every single one, he changes his story. Now I'm going to tell you from what I know now and how I know it. I reached out to Jeremy after I came out to see if he would change his tune, and he did. You guys can go check it out. I think it's pinned to the top of on Twitter at Warboys Studios. It's one of my latest. It's called I think it's called the Knife of Judah. I think is the episode name. And Jeremy Bertino admits to perjury, admits to being coached, and admits we only thought that he met with the FBI 4 times. He met with the FBI over 20 times. Yeah, that's Jeremy right there.
I'll give this link to everybody in the chat now.
Yeah. So he recants his whole testimony, and within him recanting his entire testimony, because we did it professionally first, right? We got him deposed multiple times. We had him sign an affidavit, which is now public knowledge. And then I decided to interview him because there's nobody that's better to ask him questions than me. A private investigator wasn't going to do it properly. He wasn't going to do it properly himself, and I wanted him on camera. And he admitted to being coached, and the person who coached him was Jocelyn Valentine and Special Agent Nicole Miller. He admitted.
Is Nicole Miller still at the employ of the DOJ?
Nicole Miller is in the employ of the FBI. And yes, she is.
I just like if any clip and whatever. What the fuck is possibly going on, Enrique?
Well, there's another part of this case, the Cole case, and I'll say it now before I say the fifth thing. The lead FBI agent, I always mispronounce his name. I think it's Brennick, or whatever. He was the lead FBI agent in our case. And it's like they're getting the Proud Boy dream team, and they're putting them back together to prosecute this pipe bomber, which I have mixed feelings about. And again, I guess we'll talk about that later. But the head of the Capitol Siege Division still works for the DOJ. Nicole Miller, Special Agent Nicole Miller, still works for the FBI. Special Agent Brennick, or whatever he is. I always screw up his name. I don't know why. I think it's just like such a weird name. Still works for the FBI. These Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Dan Bongino were put on this to give us like some semblance of faith in these institutions. And like when I see this, you don't know how livid I was when I found out that Jocelyn Valentine was a prosecutor in this case. I called everybody. I called Kara Castronova. I called Julie Kelly. I called everybody. And I'm like, can you fucking believe this? That this woman did this. And in February, I'm going to tell you another thing that happened. In February, the guys had put a motion to dismiss. A little bit after me and you did our first interview. And she pro hawks into the case the day before the deadline and completely says, during the Trump administration, signed off by Pam Bondi, says everything that happened in our case was done correctly, done properly, and nobody did anything wrong.
Then why did you need a pardon?
Not only that, a couple days before that, they had fired almost the entire prosecution team because of their actions towards the January 6 cases. So you can't have it both ways. You can't say, well, we fired these people because their actions were despicable, which is a word that was used. Their actions were despicable, and then turn around in court and say, well, you know what? Everything they did is right. It's either you get sued by us, which is currently happening, or you get sued by those prosecutors for wrongful termination, right? Because you can't have it both ways. She completely says, she comes in, Jocelyn Ballantyne. And let me see if I put up on my Twitter, let me see if I put up that document. But that's not the most egregious thing that you've heard today. Before trial, they put me in a room, and we talked about this part. They put me in a room, they slid a piece of paper across the desk with a narrative on it. And they're like, if you sign this, you'll have a bail hearing next week, and we guarantee you won't do a single day in prison. I pulled the document in, I looked at it, and basically what the document said was that the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, through the means of a third party, told me to storm the Capitol of the United States to stop the certification of the election.
May I stop you just for 1 second? Who's sliding this paper and who's asking you to sign it?
Her name is Jocelyn Ballantyne, and she works for the Department of Justice. And she was the head of the Capitol Siege Division for the Department of Justice at the time. Sitting in the room, she's the one that offered it. I said no. And she told me to lie about the president in order to go home. And there is no doubt in my mind. There's no doubt. There's no doubt. Because at that time, Jack Smith hadn't been appointed yet. There's no doubt in my mind that one of the people that were working with Jack Smith to prosecute the president, because it was a January 6 case, she definitely worked with Jack Smith. There's no doubt in my mind that Jocelyn Ballantyne worked with Jack Smith to prosecute the president of the United States, right? Because there's no other person, right, that knows more about everything that happened at the Capitol than the head of the Capitol Siege Division at the DOJ.
But I presume, you'll correct me if my assumption is wrong, had you signed that, they would have used that, Ballantyne would have used that to prosecute Trump.
Well, she would have given it to Jack Smith at that point. Jack Smith, again, wasn't, the timeline is that Jack Smith wasn't appointed until a couple months later. Actually, yeah, a couple months later. But I'm 100% sure she would have been the person working there with it. She was the one that gave the offer. So the person that was going to help Jack Smith put the president away, Jocelyn Ballantyne, still works for the DOJ. I don't know. I don't know what to take of this. So, like, putting all this together, taking my feelings out of it, because I have very, very strong feelings towards this person, to the point where I called my attorney yesterday. We're currently suing the United States government, including Special Agent Nicole Miller. We might add Jocelyn Ballantyne, amend our suit and add Jocelyn Ballantyne in there, because this is getting out of hand now. Maybe that's what'll cause her to lose her fucking job. But I want to take. Go ahead.
Oh no, just I'll ask the question now. Maybe we would have gotten to it later anyhow. It's people in the chat cannot believe it. It's shocking. It's flabbergasting. Someone might say, look, the American government is a big institution. Trump can't be expected to know everybody. Pam Bondi can't be expected to know everybody. They don't know of this woman's involvement in January 6th, the extent of it, the scope of the unlawful actions that she carried out as puppet master prosecutor. Do you have knowledge that the administration or key players of this administration now currently know who she is, know what she did, and are not doing a damn thing about it?
I could confirm as of yesterday, there is a high-ranking government official that knows exactly who Jocelyn Valentine is. I won't tell you what was said, but I could guarantee you that person knows exactly who she is. Can that person do something? I don't know. Possibly.
Yeah, but
Actually, yes. The answer is actually yes. Yes.
My big mistake is, I know I put out a tweet and tag Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, FBI rapper. Response is like, why is this woman working here? And then they say, well, the response might be, they have no say in it. They don't pick the prosecutor. It's like, you're right. I absolutely should have included AG Pam Bondi. What the hell is going on?
Well, wait a second. You didn't, I mean, maybe the premise of it was a little off, but if you're talking about the special agents in charge, the agents, remember that they just said that he was cooperating with the FBI and they got him in the interrogation room and he said all these things. The FBI agent that was in the room is the FBI agent, the lead FBI agent on our case. So there is somebody that knows. Dan Bongino and Kash Patel know who this guy is, right? Because they're not going to be like, oh, let's just roll the dice and hope that that let's just pick. They throw a paper airplane in the FBI office, and whoever catches it is the FBI agent that leads the case. No, you go and you go through the file, right? And you're like, okay, not this one, not this one. Oh, okay, this one did. I mean, this is probably, if it's the biggest case in United States history, then at the top of his file is the Proud Boy case, right? They're like, oh, this is the guy who prosecuted the Proud Boys, put him on the pipe bomber case. And one could be like, oh, well, you know what? I saw somebody comment this earlier on your post, and they're like, well, look how successful they were prosecuting the Proud Boy case, right? And you know what? That fair argument. But let's go through this list, because the reason why I did this list is because it's the list of their follies, right? Everything here points in the direction of either throwing out the charges or a mistrial. You get the biggest case. From January 6th, which was this pipe bomber. And you put these follies in. And yeah, in our case, they had this corrupt judge, Timothy Kelly, right, that hated the president, showed his animus for the president on the while he was on the podium. You know, you get one of these judges that is sympathetic to somebody bombing the RNC, and one of these things happen, and the case is thrown out. You know, do I sound crazy? Well, where's Comey and Letitia James now? Do I sound crazy? Because people were telling me, hey, you're crazy. No way. These guys are going. Letitia James is going away for life now. And so, where are they at? Please tell me. Are they sitting in a jail cell? Or are they having fucking mimosas, right? Down in Florida, probably by you, right now on vacation. They're probably hanging out with that prosecutor from Atlanta. What's her name? Fannie Willis?
The question that I was just about to ask, however, was, okay, so who the FBI picks to be the special agent on it. You know, when I asked the question, if the answer is from Patel, FBI, Bongino, we don't pick the prosecutor. Okay, that's an answer which is a sort of a double-edged sword. All right, well, now that you know who is involved there, do you just go along with this prosecution, or do you voice some discontent to Pam Bondi? Or do you say, this is dysfunctional, I'm out of here, find someone else who wants to be part of this charade, because I came here for justice for the Jan Sixers, not to allow the perpetrators of that injustice to be lead prosecutors on another case with all the stains that that's going to bring to it.
What's the over-under that this Nicole Miller agent, the one that with the messages, what are the chances? I mean, I bet this on Polymarket right now that she's part of this case too.
I'm going to see if I can find that out.
Maybe we could ask the FBI's press office and see if Special Agent Nicole Miller is on this case. I'm currently suing her, so we're actually looking to subpoena her anyways. I mean,
There's
actually,
a
I'm
lot-
sorry. No, we subpoenaed her a couple weeks ago. We don't need her.
we got a lot of people watching. If that information is out there, I'm sure one of the however many people watching now are going to get it. But to that comment that says, "Oh yeah, well they want a good prosecutor," it was this person. The prosecutor is good at prosecuting criminals, like the bomber and your guest. To me, to which I say, base takes my ass. Yeah, it's like nothing better than having crooked prosecutors hide exculpatory evidence to secure unlawful, unconstitutional convictions. We're not living in fucking Russia, and nobody wants that type of justice and success from criminal prosecutors.
The number one goal for Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, above everything, right, is to instill confidence in the institution that is the FBI, right? Because if you do the math, obviously conservatives weren't big fans of the FBI during the Biden administration for what they did, right? So you got a little bit over half of the population in the United States completely distrusts the FBI. Then you move in, and the Trump administration takes over, and Kash Patel takes over, and all the liberals are like, "Oh no, we don't trust the FBI." So then the other half of the country, now the other half of the country doesn't trust them. But then you have a big swath of the conservative movement that is very distrustful because we don't see results. We don't see results. We saw what happened to Comey. We saw what happened with Letitia James. We haven't seen actually the deep state arrest count, the 0 that our friend Brianna puts up every once in a while. And I always correct her. I go, it's not 0, it's -2, right? Because we're -2. We lost 2. So now we got to gain another 2 in order to get back to 0. They're not going to be able to. I think I told you this to you when we were talking last night, or Julie. Do you think Dan Bongino is going to be able to go back to podcasting successfully after 4 years? I don't think so. You know, unless we start seeing something. I want them to win. I want to have what's that shirt? The Cash App or whatever shirt. I want to have the Bongino Army shirt. I want to rock those things because I want them to be successful. Because if they're successful, my enemies are in prison. The people that destroyed my life and destroyed the life of my family and my mother, made that woman cry every night, those people have to pay. And the only people that are able to get justice through retribution, through justice, is Kash Patel and Dan Bongino. There's nobody in the United States right now that is rooting for them more than I am. But that means I have to be critical every time they do something wrong. This guy, if he goes to trial, will walk away scot-free. Because these blunders by the FBI and the DOJ, they're going to throw this case out. And again, I don't know the dynamics of the case. I don't know if this is the guy. I don't know if that other woman's the woman. I don't know if the other woman is the woman. You know, there's a whole bunch of people that say it's this person, that person. But what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Like, it's the new FBI. That's the old FBI, but with a new name.
Well,
now we have,
and not just that. Like, you know, you say it is. I never had more confidence in any two people than Bongino and Patel. More in Bongino because I know him personally. Patel I never met. And the first question and the biggest question I always had is, okay, you've got two new directors of the FBI. Some of the criticism is that they didn't have FBI experience, so they didn't know the inner workings, they didn't know the players, and they would be easy.
That's fair.
They would be easy to have the wool pulled over their eyes, and they don't know who to watch out for.
That's fair. I didn't expect them to like just come in there like with a sledgehammer.
Well, no, but then I said my question is, you know, for people who've been saying the FBI is potentially irremediably corrupt, and this is, you know, Bongino, you need to clean the house, not come in. And all of the players who were involved in these Jan 6 persecutions, the investigations, the FBI abuse, they're all still there. And some of them are getting promotions. Others of them are now prosecuting cases. And, you know, I want Bongino to succeed. And whether or not, you know, people say he'll never be able to go back to podcasting, it depends on how he leaves or what he gets done within. When the rumors were that he was going to leave because of Bondi's fucking up of the Epstein disclosures, I'm like, yes, that's how you preserve your own dignity. You don't have to throw the administration under the bus because you want it to succeed. But if things are going in a way that handcuffs you and makes you not just gagged and unable to act, but also makes you complicit in this nonsense. You get out in the most discreet manner possible, and you go back. And then you wait until enough time has elapsed, and you can reveal those secrets without risking taking down this administration that needs to succeed.
Yeah.
And now we're later on now, where I'm skeptical of this story. I don't know if I believe it's the guy. It sounds supremely fishy. When they were, when you remember that Peter Strzok and Lisa Page were joking about their insurance policy against Trump, the idea that anyone thinks that for the last 4 years, all the FBI under Biden was doing was nothing in this case, like just neglecting it, versus actively planning for the day that they might find the people who did this and not planning something of an insurance policy against that. And now you put 2 new people on the case under Patel and Bongino, and they magically discover this that's been hiding in plain sight. I don't believe that this, the prior FBI was strictly incompetent. I believe they were malicious, and in which case I believe they're planning for the day that people actually find out who the pipe bomber was, and this might be plan B, the insurance policy. But how do they rationalize and justify working with the very same rank and file at an FBI that railroaded Jan 6ers and MAGA, and that is probably sandbagging and what's the other word I'm looking for? Sabotaging their leadership.
Yeah. And then you put them on like the biggest case. Like if you don't count, I keep having to shit on the Comey and the Letitia James, right? So this is the biggest case that they've had so far, the most publicly talked about case, and they knew that this was going to be one of the biggest cases that they talked about. Why would you put these people on there? Why don't you, if you want to keep them, whatever, and you say, well, they're good at paperwork or whatever, well, just put them in a back office somewhere. No, let's put them to lead the most, like the biggest case that we've had all year. Let's put them to lead this case and think it's a good idea. I go back, look, I agree with you. I want to wear those shirts, bro. They're cool shirts. The Bongino Army shirt and the cash with the cash sign. Like, I want to do that. But I can't right now. Because I'm livid. I'm pissed. I've been pissed for fucking 2 days. Like, these people are still walking around. The least that they could do is fire them. I want them in prison, but let's start somewhere. When Kash Patel came in and he's like, I'm going to turn the DC office into a museum. Look, I understand the political rhetoric. You're not really going to turn it into a museum, although it would be nice. What you're saying is the symbolism. I'm going to clean house.
Mm-hmm.
And that cleaning house is how, like, people feel comfortable with the FBI anymore. You want an FBI you believe in? There should be less FBI memes, right? People should have trust in it, where no more FBI or ATF memes happen. But
no, but Enrique, like when they come out with a story a month, the breaking arrest a month after Steve Baker's expose, with a story that many people just simply don't believe on its face. This guy managed to evade the FBI for 5 years, and he's a 30-year-old, apparently basically nonverbal or borderline nonverbal autist who managed to buy this stuff over the course of a year and a half before the election, build it, and then get away with it. And then, while they expect people to swallow that, they then pick as a prosecutor the prosecutor that was involved in the most egregious constitutional violations of Jan 6ers and Trump supporters and Trump himself, so much so that they needed a pardon from Trump. I mean, some people feel that this is almost the insult to the injury. And if Bongino and Patel have no choice in it, and it's Bondi who's doing this, and they're the ones, basically holding the bag, then you get out, and you get out politely, and or you get out and you try to take out the people who are responsible for this if it's not them.
Yeah. And
that was
I want to make 2 points here too. We already saw what bad prosecutors do. We saw Comey's daughter in multiple cases, including the Diddy case, and just flop that case out together. Although there was some strange things in that case, whatever. But you put Comey's daughter in, she screws over a couple cases. And here's another thing. I'm pretty sure, I haven't really dug in too deep into this. I saw Judge, I can't call her Judge Jeanine Pirro, Attorney Jeanine Pirro, at the press briefing, which leads me to believe that it's a DC case, right? I don't know what this guy's political lean is. You know, it's too early for me to tell. There's too much misinformation out there. So let's say this guy is a radical leftist, right? Do you really think that a DC jury is going to convict this man of these charges? And the answer is no, they're not. But in both cases, and here's me talking about my personal feelings here. Let's say they're successful in prosecuting this man, and let's say it was just. Let's say it was a just prosecution. Jocelyn Ballantyne and this special agent, they get whitewashed. They become heroes in history. You know, they won't. Nobody will remember them for the Proud Boy case. They'll remember them for the pipe bomber case, and they get to parade down, and the trail of misery that they're responsible for, just doesn't cut it, man.
People are going to remember them for the Proud Boys case, because I don't think many people watching before today knew that Ballantyne was involved or the puppet master in that case. I think people are going to know now, and I'll predict it. I think there will be judicial consequences. They're going to be lifted from the case. I think if not fired outright. I don't think enough people knew this, and I don't think it's been put on blast enough to bring to the administration so they could at least give the impression of change and not the impression of keeping on higher and promoting the people who perpetrated the events, you know, the injustice over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
What was I going to say? Something? Yeah, someone also corrected me and said, "Yeah, Viva, you don't tag it Pam Bondi, tag Janine Pirro." The bottom line is, it's an obvious question. Someone's got to answer it. How the hell did this happen?
I agree. Look, and I think Janine Pirro is doing the best to her ability. Right? She's in a very very bad district. Right, to bring up prosecutions, especially political prosecutions. And look, here, the DOJ should know this. If the pipe bombs were built in Virginia, in Northern Virginia, right? Now, I haven't seen the demographics, the political demographics of that area, Woodridge, I think it's called.
Yeah, I'm not sure what judicial district is part of.
I believe it should be the Northern District of Virginia. But if he built the bombs there, put the case out of there. Take the case out of DC. We've seen them fail back to back. What was that case with the sandwich, the Subway sandwich?
The Subway sandwich guy. He walked.
He's on video throwing the fucking sandwich. And
Michael Sussman was on paper billing the Clinton campaign for his meeting with the FBI, where he gave him the Steele dossier, and they still, you know, he walked. Jury nullification.
Yes.
Oh, I want to make one prediction right now, just because I think what most likely is going to happen. Remember in Michael Flynn's case, when he pleaded and then they refused to let him withdraw his plea because of ineffective counsel and some chicanery. What's going to happen in this case, if it proceeds, is this kid, this guy, 30-year-old guy, he's going to plead. They're going to take the victory lap on his plea, and his plea is going to get thrown out afterwards, because they examined this guy for 4 hours without counsel before his first hearing, which doesn't make any sense to me if the details are right. And I think what's going to happen, it's going to be Michael Flynn in reverse, because the left always accuses you of what they're doing. He's going to plead, and they're going to get that plea tossed out later down the line, and he's going to walk. And I don't even think as far as I understand right now, I don't believe he's the guy that did it, but
no.
we don't have,
correct me if we don't have the indictment yet, do we?
No, the last thing,
the criminal complaint. That's it.
The affidavit in support of the arrest.
Yeah. So I mean, and we'll see what the indictment comes in on. But I agree with you. I think that this case is very likely to run. You know how easy it is to indict somebody and like prosecute them? It's very easy.
You can indict a ham sandwich. It's the old expression, and it's true for a reason.
I know it more than a lot of people. And this one's dangerous. This is treading dangerous ground. You need to put a new prosecuting team. And even if you do it, like, nobody's going to believe it, right? Because look at the prosecutor you put up. So
here, let me just bring the chat, a couple of chats up here. It seems like they're using a mentally challenged person as a patsy. They're evil. Look, patsy has two different words, much like false flag does. He might be the one that was manipulated and coaxed by agents in the same way the dudes in the basement for the Gretchen Whitmer plot were mentally vulnerable individuals who were exploited, financed, and trained by more CHSs and FBI agents than actual participants in the crimes, as a result of which some of them got off for entrapment. So he could be very well have been used. He could be a totally, unrelated. We're going to see if he's got an alibi. Or he could be someone that was groomed over the course of years and they actually used for that purpose. We got thank you from overtly overstocked Oscars. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, geez. I mean, okay. What have I forgotten to ask you, Enrique? Because this is sufficiently mind blowing to me, and I hope it's equally outrageous to everybody watching.
I think.
But is there anything?
I think so, and I think it's important, and I'm glad you brought me up, because I think it's important for people to like put the pieces together, right? Because if you just see, oh, Jocelyn Valentine from the Proud Boys case, you might care. But like, let me remind you guys who this person is. You know, this woman fumbled nonstop. And I'm just, I made a short list here. This woman fumbled our entire trial. In any other district, we would have been exonerated in its entirety. And we sit here and we voted for something, and I believe that the president knew what was going on. A lot of people don't understand this, right? Like, they're like, oh, Trump's got to know what's going on. Listen, this dude wakes up at 4:00 in the morning and is in like the situation room all day. Okay, there is a million things going on with the world. It's impossible for him to know everything. That's why like podcasts like yours are important, because you get people to start talking about it, and maybe we get it in front, because I'm pretty sure he's not okay with Jocelyn Valentine. That was, and I'm saying this, possibly working with Jack Smith. I'm almost 100% sure of that, because there's nobody else, right? When we're talking about January 6 cases, there's nobody else. I want to remind people something, because the DC case, you remember when they indicted him for the DC case and they called it the January 6 case? You know which case I'm talking about? With Chutkin? Chutkin as the judge?
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Oh, yeah, that was the I want to say the documents case. So that was the
No, the documents case is in Florida.
Florida. Because hold on, so what was it? It was not classified material.
So
I remember Chutkin. Chutkin was the commie on the bench. Literally.
Yeah. So they called it the January 6 case, which was an inaccurate description of the case, because if you read the indictment, he wasn't charged with anything that happened at the Capitol, right? He was charged with everything like, oh, he called the Georgia Secretary of State. He was manipulating people into changing the results of the election, a bunch of bullshit. But it wasn't a January 6 case. If people like me would have turned, it could have turned into a January 6 case. They wanted to pin him for seditious conspiracy. Why did they want to pin him for seditious conspiracy? Let's go back to Colorado when they knocked him off the ballot, right? The reason why it didn't stand was because it wasn't in the family of insurrection, right? If he would have been charged with seditious conspiracy, I'm not saying that it would have knocked him off the ballot, but there would have been more argument if he would have been charged with seditious conspiracy to interpret, I think it was the 12th Amendment.
Don't ask me. I don't
remember. I think it's the 12th Amendment. I might be wrong. You know what? Let me not say which amendment it is. Where you can't run for office if you were charged with insurrection or got convicted of insurrection. I'm not saying it would have knocked him off the ballot, but that's the goal, right? Because they're playing a chessboard, right? The name of the game is to knock your opponent's pieces off the table of play. And in politics, the king piece is the president. They were knocking off pawns nonstop throughout the Biden's 4 years because they didn't want him to run again. Then they went for the rooks. They went for the bishops. They went for the knights, which that's the Proud Boys. And then they wanted to knock the president of the United States off because he was the ultimate goal. All these prosecutions had the ultimate goal of one thing and one thing alone. Somebody said 14th Amendment. It was power. If you knock that king piece off for the Republican Party, you win the board.
Well, this was exactly what Mike Benz was talking about in respect of the election integrity partnership, the 2020 fortification, which was, do everything you can, legal and illegal, to cause Trump to lose. But even if he loses, you've got to take his voice away because he can still be politically useful with his 100 million followers on Twitter. So get him off Twitter, get him off Facebook, get him off social media, so that after you remove him, you prevent him from even being able to remobilize and reset the board. And that's exactly what they did. They just failed. And yet the very same people who did that and failed are part of the current FBI, the current DOJ, and other positions of power within the current administration.
Yeah. And, you know, people like to deify the president. I hate when they do that. They're like, oh, he's like some type of like Superman, out of this world God or whatever. No, the reason why he's so amazing is that this regular dude, right? And you can be like, oh, well, he's a billionaire. He's a regular dude. He talks like a plumber, dude. He was able to knock off 2 impeachments, 4 indictments. All the weaponization that happened against him, whether it's like social media deplatforming, financial deplatforming, 2 assassination attempts,
At least.
at least. And he ends up the greatest comeback in recent American history. It's Donald Trump. You know, and I know like a lot of people want to trash him for certain things, for certain stances on policies. I'm not that person. I consider loyalty to be of the utmost, like the highest standard that I have. And what the president did for me on that day, because a lot of people don't know this either, his first act as the president of the United States, his very first act, the first time he grabbed the pen as the 47th president of the United States was to sign those pardons and bring me home. There's nothing that my loyalty to the president is based on something. It's not like, oh, I'm not putting this guy on a pedestal. He gave me my life back. So I'm not turning on him, and I'm never turning on him. But that doesn't extend to his appointees. Okay? And if Dan Bongino and Kash Patel and Pam Bondi was in front of me, is like, you have the biggest opportunity to make radical change and make the American people believe in these institutions. I don't want to hate the FBI. I don't want to hate the DOJ. I don't want kids to hate the FBI or the DOJ. You got a boss that will back you no matter what you do. Okay? Even when you do wrong, the president is so loyal that he's like, Kash Patel's doing a great job. Dan Bongino's doing a great job. Dan Bondi's doing a great job. You have that loyalty from the president. Nobody can touch you right now. Do the right thing. Because in 2028, me and you might be cellmates. The people watching this, right? I don't know how many viewers there are up here. You're next. If we don't put these people in prison and seek justice, it's going to happen again.
Let me do one thing here. Let me bring this up. Joe Mascu over in Rumble says, the craziest part of this is that Kash and Dan both named people they believe committed federal crimes, and now that Kash and Dan are in power, those people are untouchable. Capo Sooth says, we're supposed to believe that a black man waved at police. I don't necessarily believe that the person in the video waved at the police. They might have just been stretching their arm and it happened at that very same time. But it does look like the police car braked immediately after the person did it. Take that for what it's worth. King of Biltong says, craving some healthy, high-protein snacks. Biltong is packed with B vitamins, creatine, iron, zinc, and more. The perfect high-protein snack. BiltongUSA.com. Code VIVA for 10% off. And hold on, Enrique, I'm going to see what we got over on vivabarneslaw.locals.com. We got Viva and Noble. This is not new and does not make your case in all of the Jan 6 less significant. I appreciate what Atrophy Cat is going to say right now. The government does this on all levels, state and federal, misdemeanor and felony prosecutions. It's now in the limelight. When they do this in the light, imagine what they do in the dark. Absolutely. That's what Barnes.
I agree.
Yeah, Barnes and I, we were talking about they've been doing this at all levels forever. And the people just didn't have the bullhorn that Trump had to put it on blast. And Jan 6ers. Yeah. Schnookum says they'll convict the guy and use that to justify not going after Metro officer, even if his conviction is overturned. We'll see about that in a second. And Enrique, two things. First of all, did you mention the thing that you didn't yet mention? Publicly?
I did.
Okay.
I did. That was number 5. When it was Jocelyn Ballantyne. I hadn't said that before. Even last time we talked, I had said, it was a prosecutor's. I was treading kind of carefully because we were getting ready to sue
Mhm.
at that point. But we will be adding I believe that we will be adding Jocelyn Ballantyne to our lawsuit, so she can prepare to get served.
Let me see if I get some questions in over in locals. And the other thing that I was going to do was this, which was bring this one up. Oh, no, the eye condition. I wanted to ask you about that. Sorry.
yeah,
It says Enrique actually has an eye condition. Maybe Viva can ask him about it. He mentioned it on Tim's show a few years back. I didn't know that.
yes.
That's why.
So people are always like, "Oh, well, he's always wearing sunglasses." I am photophobic. I was born very light sensitive. It's unnatural lights. It's like light bulbs. Usually blue light fucks me up. But then it wasn't that bad. I went and I got LASIK, and it made it like fucking 15 times worse, dude. It was so bad.
That's why the touching eyeballs is like there's only one thing. Touching balls and eyeballs. You're touching the most sensitive things on your body. People's like, Viva, go get the eye corrective surgery. It's like, I don't care if it's 1 in a million.
If you're not light sensitive, right?
And what happens?
It's
Like,
completely safe.
your
I
eyes
get
tear up?
massive migraines.
Mhm.
Right? I take them off every once in a while because it's kind of just like it's unbearable sometimes. But I can't drive at night without like a pair of shades on. I can't be in my hotel room because it's not natural light. If you've been in my studio, you've seen how dark it is. I like the bright studio. I like what you have behind you. I wish I could have that, but it would render my pod completely useless because I turn into a bumbling idiot. It's like a quarter way down.
I had no idea. Okay, we got. Hey, Viva, look up the picture of the Obama clock kid. Deja vu. Yeah, cool clock, Mohammed. I do appreciate that. That kid did. I mean, they look somewhat similar. I can appreciate that. In our locals community, Enrique, some questions are broad plans for the future. I mean, if you add someone to the lawsuit, however, that's going to start the entire process from scratch because you add a new defendant. They're going to come in and avail themselves of all of their rights that they would have had they been initially named. So that slows things down.
That's one of the things that we're going to talk about on Monday. Just judging by right now, we're actually just waiting to see if the judge will give us. Well, I'm pretty sure she will
Give permission to add.
No, a hearing on because the government, Pam Bondi, put a motion to dismiss our lawsuit against the United States government. We filed our opposition, and now we might have a hearing here soon or a ruling. So maybe if that we'll strategically we'll make a decision on it.
Okay. And I was just told over in locals that another rant came in. So I'm going to share this up here. Hold up 1 second. It was an orange thing. Okay, we got Low Light Recovery says, Noble One, want to pick your about JLVD? Want to pick your brain about JLVD?
James, our ex-attorney for the
and Esquire and related acquaintances. I'm noble_lie_. I'll screen grab this and you can decide what to do with it afterwards.
Send it over to me. Send me to that person. Just send me a DM. I'll check the message request if it's noble.
Noble lie __.
Okay.
Remove this. Bring this up. I think it's mind blowing. Viva only needs to change his granny style glasses to a little more stylish pair. That's from Roostang.
I will agree with that person.
Oh, look, and it's not because I'm cheap and I'm not trying to perpetuate stereotypes. I just don't want to waste things. The frames kept breaking and the store only had this particular color that fit the lenses, and I'm not wasting good lenses.
Okay.
So they keep replacing them every year. This is, I think, one of the first pairs I got in Florida. The frame breaks, stands in optical, replaces them. It's a great deal. Okay, Enrique. First of all, thank you immensely for doing this.
No problem. Anytime you need somebody to fill, I'm in, man.
Well, I would have loved to have done it in person. We meet up
me too.
in Miami, but we'll do it again.
Last time.
Yeah, it was fantastic. I mean, we had the technical issues getting it started. I remember. I forgot about that until I rewatched. But no, we'll do this again. We're gonna. Oh, here, hold on a second. If the guy is truly autistic, not using the term as a fashionable
Fashionable
term for
term
nerd,
for nerd.
arresting and prosecuting him falsely is very, very cruel. Well,
I think so too. Like there's a part of me, there's the humanity, the little humanity I have left in me that's not this raging ball of anger towards a DOJ. Might feel bad for this guy because I did read a little bit. Like the guy had like a speech impediment. He doesn't walk
well,
correctly.
he doesn't walk correctly, which is why they're going to have some problems reconcile. They're going to get some ring camera of him walking his chihuahua and see if it looks anything like the hoodie person.
Yeah.
The grandmother said he's autistic, borderline nonverbal. You assume that family's going to protect family, and they might be using the term loosely. Sorry, I actually almost missed this one. Maybe a bit random. Mentally challenged person who happened to fit the bill, almost because some key person likely knew his semi-well-known parents. Do they know of him? There is. We're getting some insights about the parents. They had a lawsuit against the Trump's DOJ for various administrative fights regarding their bail bond company. The father, not the son, appeared at a press conference after the election with Crump, talking about.
I saw that too.
Yeah, it was something indicating he was pro Biden. So we're getting some indications, but we will wait for information. But
well, two things there. If we do get that video, those Ring doorbells, I suggest we send it to one of the best forensics experts that outside of the FBI. We should send it to Steve Baker and see if the gate analysis does good. I love Steve, man. I think he did an excellent job. I think if anything, look, nothing is for certain. I think if anything, he pushed this to come about, which actually might be a bad thing for this guy if he proves not to be the guy. But another thing, a lot of people don't know a lot about what happened on January 6th. So I'm hoping that I blew some of you guys that are watching. I'm hoping I blew some of your minds with some of the knowledge.
You blew this. I can guarantee you blew my mind. And I think I don't know everything. I know more than the average person about this.
You guys want to get like some real insight on like what happened on January 6th. My buddy Help Stop Hate. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. I
think it sounds oddly familiar.
Yeah. Help Stop Hate. I'm gonna boost him on my Twitter. He has like a whole collection of just videos and breakdowns of things that you thought you knew on January 6th. And just look at the videos, and it's gonna change.
I did see because he was commenting on somebody. He was just
Dave
commenting on the most.
Is his name.
It's a red stop sign and it says,
yeah.
Okay, so it's this. We're gonna promote it right now.
Yeah.
Because I noticed he was tweet. I noticed a replies coming from that avatar. So let me share this link with everybody here.
Yeah, he is great. And he breaks down everything. He has some great documentaries that break everything down. So suggestively, if you like what I said right now, I'm peanuts compared to Dave over there, which I've interviewed for my podcast before.
Well, let me go follow back right now. I get he must have done a follow for follower at some point because they're like 14,000 following, and I think Twitter doesn't like that, and so doesn't algorithmically promote those accounts that are following almost as many people as have followers.
Yeah.
Well, one last thing actually, just before we go, there was one more chat. I won't show it. I'll just bring it up. It says, "Were the Jan 6 lawyers good enough?" I think my understanding is they were very good.
The defense lawyers?
Yeah.
I'd say they were. They all had their different strengths. And I know maybe some of my I'm so used to calling them co-defendants, I'm so like programmed. My brothers, some of the lawyers for my brothers, some of them aren't very happy with them, but I think we had a really good array. I had a very, very good team. I can't complain about my team. Naib Hassan, Sabino Jaregui. They were amazing attorneys, big shot attorneys here in Miami. Highly recommend if you get into a criminal case. If you're in DC and it's a political case, there's nobody. You could literally get Johnny Cochran, dig him out of the grave, put him in a cloning machine, clone him in all different colors. You make a Asian Johnny Cochran, a Jewish Johnny Cochran, a white Johnny Cochran, black Johnny Cochran, put them on your team. You're going to lose the case anyways.
Yeah. So we're gonna raid. Just so everybody knows, we're gonna raid. What did Neurodivergent say? We're gonna raid. We're gonna raid somebody. Everybody. Dan's Dear Sarge. So we're gonna raid Dear Sarge. I don't know who he is, but I trust Neurodivergent. The last question that I was gonna ask before we end this, and we're gonna say our proper goodbyes off air. You put out a tweet. I'm not mentioning her name, and it's not out of fear of getting sued. It's like there's no need. I can't even remember her name, and I don't know that I've ever even used
Hard
it.
name to remember.
Yeah, it's like once. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But I just remember what she did, and I know what she did because I just couldn't believe that whether or not she was the the properly identified person in the Blaze article, everyone acknowledges that she was the one sitting there firing rubber bullets and pepper balls at the crowd in a manner that was deemed to be either reckless or not less than lethal. You had some choice words, and I won't show the tweet, but basically it's like F this B. For what she did, she deserves to be in jail, and no sympathy, no remorse.
Yes.
Had you
Never let evil take root. And a lot of people have. And the reason why I typed it is I saw a lot of people on our side of the aisle champion, be like, oh, I hope she sues everybody into oblivion. I hope she sues the Blaze or Steve into oblivion. I don't want to give any people like this, like, I don't want to give them any root. Okay. Because even if she didn't do that, the things that the crimes that she committed on January 6th do not allow me to side with her over it. I've picked my side a long time ago. I don't pretend that I don't have a bias. There's many people. This is a battlefield, and we use different tools. We use tanks, we use jets, we use personnel. I am a tool in there, and there's people that their whole goal is conversions, bring people into the movement from the other side. That's not my thing. Okay. I will never give my enemy an ounce. I won't give them an inch. I won't be like, oh, okay, well, you know what? Steve Baker's a great dude. Kyle Serafin's a good dude. Julie Kelly's a great woman. She sat in my trial. And although all that little group doesn't get along, I don't care. I don't care about the dramas. Okay. I care about winning, and winning at all costs. Okay. Even to the detriment of myself. I'm for winning. I think I've proven that. I'm loyal to mine. I'm loyal to my cause. I'm loyal to people. And that'll never change, no matter what. So all those people that disagree, and when it comes out, oh well, her name, I'm not going to use it on your show. Her name, I hope she sues everybody when they say that. I'm like, okay, you know what? I hope she wins the money, and I hope the only thing that she could ever spend it on is ramen noodles from a prison. She could have all these millions and take it from anybody, and take it from the Blaze, and take it from Steve, or whatever she wants. But I hope that the only place that she could spend it is in prison. And I'm not saying that because I'm a bad person, or that's all I want from them. That's what they deserve because of what they did, and what they did, and what they ruined my life, and they ruined my family's life, and they ruined the family and 1,600 others. Okay, there's tens of thousands of people in that, hundreds of thousands of people in that, just they're trying to score political points. All they wanted was to win the 2024 election. They didn't want Trump to win. So those people, I feel no sympathy.
But
Never let evil take root.
I just think it's so stupid. Like, they've learned nothing from the Alex Jones situation. They're effectively promoting using lawfare as a weapon, not as a tool for justice. There was zero actual malice in anything Baker did or Blazer did, and it's not being wrong that is tantamount to malice, even if Baker is wrong, and I'm not convinced he is. So it's just stupid. People are it's mob mentality, and they don't really appreciate what they're actually promoting, and they haven't learned from the ills of what has been done in the past on the very same logic.
Yeah.
Someone is asking, critical thought over in locals, is Help Stop Hate only on CommieTube? Does he have a Rumble account?
I think he has a Rumble account. You could ask Dave himself. He's very receptive to the DMs.
Okay.
I have a Rumble channel. I don't promote it much because we go live on Twitter. I wish I could go Rumble more. I wish they had a static RTMP key.
I think. Oh, do
this
they
is to
have
the
one?
Rumble team, please. Static
I think
RTMP.
They've
Because
got.
all my streams, if you go to my Rumble channel, they're all the same name. So I want them to fix that because they have an amazing platform.
You want a static RTMP? Hold on, let me.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's needed. It's needed because like all the like I have to, and I think you had to do it here. You had to create the thumbnail.
Yeah, I did notice that StreamYard, because I don't usually use StreamYard, did say Rumble could be integrated with a fixed RTMP. So I'm going to
Yeah.
see if Rumble has one.
Yeah.
And then
They have one. They have a fixed RTMP. The problem with the fixed RTMP is it doesn't change the title. And now we're getting into nerd stuff here in the middle of the stream, but it doesn't change the title. So like mine says War Boys Live, and we have like 10 shows a day. So like I don't have time to sit there and make an RTMP key for every stream.
Okay, I'll take note and ask them. Neighbor said he had unusually short legs, so obviously not the person in the video. We'll see, says Sparky. I know what I think. All that's gone, good and bad. Just think it's been 10 years. What was I going to say? One last thing. Is there one last thing here? We got Viva Riveting, says Chris Craft 2 over in vivabarneslaw.locals.com. I had hopes for Bondi. This is from Andrea627 for cash for Bongino. I am thoroughly disappointed in the actions thus far. I agree. We don't need vengeance. We need justice. And to ensure this doesn't happen again, appreciate you fighting, Enrique. And I'll end it on this thought. Loyalty doesn't mean not criticizing people. Loyalty does mean criticizing them when they're making a mistake and when they're doing things that are going to compromise their mission on this earth. And so I want Bongino to succeed. I want Patel to succeed. They need to, and that might mean replacing Bondi with someone who's going to do something if their hands at the FBI are tied by their higher up pay to play Bondi, as some people call it. Enrique,
turn it into a museum.
Well, he should have done that. I don't know that maybe he can't do that. Maybe that's the budget issue. Who knows? But coming out there and celebrating the new office, it's going to be beautiful. Celebrating the staff, which 30% of them participated in this. Those are not Bongino's mistakes. Those are objective mistakes that are irreconcilable with Patel's stated missions, and so he's got to figure out what the hell's going on.
Yeah,
Enrique, this was amazing. Where can people find you? And I'll put the links in the pinned comment. But people know where to find you. Where can they get you?
So I think, am I putting it right over?
At Noble, yes, it's actually
okay. So at Noble One, right down there. At Noble One and you spell it out ONE on Twitter. And then my network, we have a podcast network. We run a couple shows a day. Great people like Kim Coulter, great people like Barry Ramey, Patriot Rob. They're on there, and you can follow it at War Boys Studios. That's War Boys with an S Studios. And we have spicy content, and some of the content, that's why we love Rumble, could only go on Rumble because of how spicy it is. So I'm hoping that Rumble gives us those static keys that allow us to change those titles. I'll get with you about that.
Remind me, and I'll bring it to I'm in touch with the tech guy who's they love feedback, so I can give it to them.
As always, so much fun. Had fun with you, man. I hope your guests learned something today, and I hope that they do something. Email the DOJ. You guys that are listening, shoot an email to the DOJ, your local DA's office, or Pam Bondi herself. I don't think she'll answer.
Just to end here, this is it. Never let evil take root. Otoya Yamaguchi, he makes me proud of my bloodline, says Joe Mazcu.
Yes.
Enrique, well, we're going to talk offline here. Everybody out there, go forth. Tomorrow night, I'll be live with Barnes. Peace out, everybody. Thank you for being here. Godspeed. God bless.